just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Lady Bejeux, and I am here on Arizona. And I have been involved in, I'm just going to say the movement for about 10 years. It basically began with myself deciding that I wanted to prove that somebody was giving out false information, and I felt the information that they were giving out was going to get some people hurt, and that information actually ended up being on the right to travel. And so what I did is I threw everything into it. I researched this. I went to the library, and I was bound and determined to find out that this situation, that you don't need a license or registration or insurance, that was not the truth. And what ended up happening, you guys, is I found out the complete opposite. And when I came to that realization, it was like something hit me that, everything that I was told was a lie. And that basically changed my outlook and the way that, that I presented myself in the world. And it's been a whirlwind. But in the meantime, what I have learned was how to maneuver more privately, how to maneuver outside of the jurisdiction of the United States. And I've gotten really good at it. And so, I decided that, I had a lot of information that I could not use because my situation didn't call for it. So I began to reach out to others to help them through the processes that they were trying to do. I have been successful with helping people get their kids back from CPS, get out of traffic tickets, learn how to exert their right to travel. I help people do UCC filings and understand what it is and how to use it. I do some work with people that are into Treasury and Federal Reserve, kind of like the banking side of things. And I've also helped a couple people deal with their jail options, helping kids get out, getting off of probation, and things of that nature. So I began here recently to kind of put together an environment where people can come in and kind of ask the questions that they have and try to get an understanding on how it is that they're supposed to research it, understand it, develop their process, and take it to the finish. And that's why we're here tonight. This is kind of an introductory that I like to do every week or so with the new people that come in. So you guys have an opportunity to ask me questions and ask, about myself and about your processes, and see if we can't get you guys a steady direction to go so you move forward. I've noticed that through teaching people that a lot of people are really just missing small things. They're not missing the whole picture. They're just missing pieces of that picture. And so I free up my time in order to help them find those missing pieces and get them in the right place with the right understanding so they can have success in what it is that they are trying to do. So at this time, I'm going to pause and ask if there's anybody who wants to ask me any questions before I move forward with some testimonies.
Well, yeah, I'd just like to know how to use the notary.
Okay, and is this Nancy?
This is Nancy.
Okay, Nancy, and you want to know about the notary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll give you a testimony that has to deal with the notary. It'll kind of let you guys kind of understand the process that I use. What I use is called a Notary Presentment. And as I researched, I found that a notary is actually a judge in the common law. And so with that understanding, I realized that anything that we send out with the notary presenting it becomes a court case in the common law. So I've gone through many documents that I've read, some books from people that were attorneys or judges and things of that nature, and realized that it really only takes 3 letters in order to begin any court process in the common law through your notary. The first letter is going to be it could be either like a notice of claim, it could be a notice of acceptance, or it could be something like maybe an affidavit of truth. Okay? So with that initial document, whichever it might be, you are simply going to write up the document, and you would take it to your notary, and your notary would, of course, witness your signature on that document. But what your notary will also do is they will deposit that notice into the post for you. It is another document. It's called a certificate of mailing of Notary Presentment, and that goes with your original acceptance or whatever it is that you're putting in. But it is only signed by the notary, saying that she is the one that caused it to go into the mail, that she has actually witnessed it going into the mail.
Mason Siraj.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Hi, how you doing? I'm sorry I'm late. I had an issue getting on.
That's okay. I'm having issues actually getting onto the web portion as well. And plus on top of that, the notices went out, pretty short notice. So I do understand that. I do want to give you guys another, or everybody else who had been referred, the opportunity. So I will probably repeat this call earlier tomorrow as well. So it's not a big deal. Right now we're just talking a little bit about notary presentment. And
thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay, so notary presentment, the mailing, the certificate of mailing that, or the notice of mailing that your notary will sign, will go with that document. She'll put it in the mail, and you guys will begin to play the wait game. Okay, now usually in your first affidavit or notice of claim or notice of acceptance, you will have on there that you're giving them 10 days to respond to you. And you're also letting them know that they must respond to you through the notary, that any other response will not count. Okay? Now, when you do that, you are basically holding them to answer whatever it is that you send to them. Now, what I found is that no one has ever answered me in the entire time that I've been doing this process. And that is because they are required by law to answer a document such as the ones that we present to them under their full commercial liability and penalty of perjury under the law. That means that they have to sign this thing, and anything that they put down on any type of answer would most likely be a lie. So they can't really lie to you and give you their full commercial liability as if they were telling you the truth, so they just don't answer it. Okay? And then from them not answering the first one, you will create a second notice, which would be a notice of non-response. And that notice basically gives them another 10 days to answer the notary, which, of course, I have not had one do yet. And then the third document to go out does not come from you, but it actually comes from the notary themselves. And it's just simply stating that on such and such a day, I sent such and such a company this information requiring an answer, and that no answer has been received as of to date. And then it would say, on such and such a day, we sent out letter number 2, reminding them that a response was required and we have received no response. Therefore, the debtor is now in default. Okay? From that certificate of default, which is presented by the notary, you can take that and the rest of the presentment that you had put together, and you can file that into the court. The court will issue summons for that individual to come answer that claim or notice or whatever it is, but they're not going to show up. And when they do not show up, you get your second seal. Now you have a notary seal saying they didn't answer the claim, they're in default. You've presented that to the judge. The judge says, oh my gosh, they did not answer. Now you have a default notice from the courts as well. And once you take what you have done with your notary and what you have done with the court, and you get certified copies of all of those, and you record it into the county, your judgment stands. You can pull a certified copy of that out for your records and present that into the court case or send that to the mortgage company or whatever the situation that you're dealing with would require you to do. But a notary presentment is what I like to call my Frank's Red Hot. Literally, guys, I put that on everything. Okay, and I do that. You guys can do that whether you're a secured party, whether you're not, whether you're still kind of halfway in the system. It doesn't matter, as long as you understand that your notary is the judge. Once she gets that default, then you go to the United States and get their default as well. But once you have 3 seals, your document is law. Same day. 3 seals equals law. And so that's kind of how I like to work a notary presentment, because you can use it for an A for V. You can use it to discharge your car, your mortgage, your student loans. You can use it to dismiss a court case. And you can use it if someone harms you and needs to pay you back. Notary presentment, worded properly, will actually put the party who's meant to answer into an involuntary bankruptcy. So once you're through your court process and you've registered everything with the county recorder, you literally now have power of attorney over that company, and you can go sell whatever you need to sell to recoup your damages. So that's just a little bit on notary presentment. But are there any other questions on notary presentment that you guys might have that I could answer for you?
Okay, yeah, I have one. What if you're just like fighting a traffic ticket in court, and there's not a third party like a mortgage company or whatever, another third party? It's just between you and the court over like a traffic ticket.
Okay, that's a really good answer. I use this on traffic matters all the time for people. Basically, if it's not a third party, if it's just dealing with traffic, then you would only have to send that notice out to the party that's coming against you, the city prosecutor, and to the courts. Or just to cover yourself, I would send it to the prosecutor, to the court, and to the county clerk. Because the county clerk's seal, every other clerk in that county seal, it's off of that clerk's seal. So you want to make sure to notify the top clerk that his seal is or her seal is being misused. So whatever you would send out in your presentment for that traffic, you would make sure that all parties are given notice of that.
Okay, so if your ticket says from municipal court, you're saying to the prosecutor, to the municipal court, but to the clerk, the county clerk, not the municipal clerk?
Right. When you send the information to the attorney, you would CC a copy to the court clerk, the municipal court clerk. And then you would also CC a copy to the county court clerk. Because
Oh, okay. So there's 4 there. Okay, going out. I see.
right, and you would do that
All right.
just to cover all bases because you want to make sure that everybody's looking at the same thing. So everybody's going to have that same 30-day opportunity to answer. See, 20. It's really
10 days.
it's really a notary presentment is 21 days from start to finish. So the first letter gives them 10 days. The second letter gives them 10 days. That's 20 days. On the 21st day is when your notary says, hey, they haven't contacted. Let's go ahead and send out that default. And that concludes that 21-day process that is needed for notary presentment.
Okay. My question is, did these notaries have all the paperwork and know how to do this? Because I'm in Montana, and I asked the notaries here to do some kind of the mailing thing where they're the witness, and they get it back, and they say, well, we don't do that here.
Right, and the only reason that notaries don't do things like this is because they're not educated. They're not educated on the fact that they are a judge. They get their ability to swear people in from the Secretary of State, just like a judge does. So their authority comes from the Secretary of State, just like the judge does. But they don't know that.
School to learn to be a notary. Shouldn't they have this training?
They really should, but they are not. They are not going to give them that training, as far as the government is concerned, because they don't want them to do these type of processes for us, even though they are perfectly legal, and they actually bind people better than the courts do, but they don't want the common law utilized because they have no rights in the common law.
Well, I guess then that kind of puts a big damper on this whole method if the notaries don't know anything about it and won't even do it.
And we have come up with other ways to find you a notary. So for right now, we will find you a notary, even if we have to find you a notary that does it on the internet, because it is possible for a notary to witness you signing a document, on the internet. And once you sign it, you will send it to the notary. The notary will apply their seal and then send it off for you. So there are options with notaries, but it's always good if you have a group that you're working with or friends that you're working with to go ahead and if you have a large enough group, get 2 of those people to just go get their notary license. That way they can notarize everybody.
I don't have anybody.
Okay.
I would have one other person.
Oh, sweetie, well, you have me and you have the group I work with now, and we will definitely find you what you need to move forward. There was somebody else that was trying to chime in on notary, if you want to bring that thought to present.
Yeah, that was me. I got a 34-page notice in demand that I sent to the prosecutor, and I went to Wells Fargo Bank to have it notarized.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that was there saw the the 34-page document, and he said, let me take this to my manager. So the manager comes back, and he's flipping through it and reading it, and it's completely bulletproof. He said that we don't do this. We need to send this to corporate to see if we have authority to notarize this. They would not notarize my 34-page notice in demand with court case.
You have to go to another notary, not a notary within the Wells Fargo Bank.
Well, actually, I want to bring up a point about notaries. It is not a notary's job to determine what is in what they are notarizing. It is not their job. Their only job is to witness. It is just to witness your signature. That is all. So if they're stepping outside of that, right, they are not to read the document. They are only to witness your signature on the document. Now
I
there.
didn't know that at that time.
Yes. Well, now you know, and we can actually put a little bit more information in your hands to help you guys get through that. There are several notary books that you can go through and you can find notary presentment information, and you can present that to a notary. But if they're giving you, a headache, there's always a different way that you can go. Like I said, you can find somebody that you know and pay for them to get their notary, and then every time you need to get something notarized, you use them. You can find, like me, myself, I befriended a notary in the UPS store. She actually helped me to get rid of my water bill. And after she did the process and she saw what happened, she was like, I have an IRS issue. Can you help me with it? And I'm like, absolutely. But she is now a very good friend of mine. We've worked together about 8 or 9 years now. She's been my notary. And I take everything to her. It doesn't matter what I'm sending out. If it is something that has my signature on it that I'm going to need a direct answer back to, she does my paperwork. So there are different options, and sometimes you just familiarize your notary with the fact, with the law that states that, hey, you guys are our judge. Like, this is something that you guys are allowed to do, and it'll make them more comfortable.
I have a question.
Yes.
A notary, that when they notarize a document, does that make it a legal document now, presentable in court?
Yes, because it has a seal, so it is admissible in court. Anytime a document has a seal, whether it comes from the county level, whether it comes from Secretary of State, whether it comes from the court, as long as it has a seal on it, it is always admissible in court. So what I would have you guys do during this type of presentment is when you have the notary send out that package, you have her certify a copy of the original for you and your records. That way, anytime you need to present that same information. Yeah, can you hear me?
Well, you cut
Yeah,
out.
you just cut out.
Bit.
Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. What's the last thing that you heard me say?
Well, the notary has a seal. And once you have a seal, then it's a legal document that you can present into court.
Yes. Once it has a seal, no matter where the seal comes from, if it comes from the county recorder, from the court themselves, from a notary, anytime you have a seal like that, it makes your stuff admissible in court. And as long as, now I do want to say this, it's very tricky the way that they are in court, because when they see some documents, because they'll have your documents right in front of them and tell you, I don't see them. Oh, I don't see them. And you know you've put them into the record and you know that they're there, but they are not in the judge's evidence file, therefore he's not going to recognize them. And even if you present something certified, has a seal on it and everything, you present it in open court, you give it to the clerk hands it to the judge. When she gives it to the judge, she puts it on his desk, face down. So he's looking at a blank page. So when you ask him, well, do you see my paperwork? He's going to say, I don't see it. He's going to say, I don't see it, because he's looking at the private side of the document and it's blank. So one of the countermeasures that I have used in court in order to bypass even that is to take on the back of every single page of that document, put a big red X, put a stamp at the lower right-hand corner, and endorse the stamp. Put a thumbprint over it.
Is it a dollar stamp?
It doesn't matter. It could be a 2-cent stamp. As long as you're endorsing through that and it's on the private side of the document, if the clerk sits it down and it's face down, the judge is still going to see something, and he's going to see it coming from the private. So he's not going to say, oh, I can't see your documents. He's going to have to come up with something else. So he'll usually give you another court date, run out the chambers, call all of his friends that he knows, call all of the attorneys that he knows, and they're going to sit down and they're going to try to go through and dissect your document to find a way out. I just.
To clarify again, you're saying that every document on the flip side of it, on the other side of it, you put a big red X, and on the lower right corner you put a stamp and then endorse across the stamp. Is it also in red?
If you choose, if you know what the meaning of red is, then I would do that.
Blood?
Yes. And also my thumbprints on my documents are always in red as well, because it symbolizes the flesh and blood person. Are there any other questions on this part?
What if the opposing party is the judge?
Okay.
The wrongdoer.
When a judge is the wrongdoer, what I like to do is I like to make them retire, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
If the judge is not following the laws that he is required to follow, then you would require them to recuse themselves. And I have done this before. And in getting a judge to recuse themselves, the first thing you want to do is you want to give them the option to correct their wrongs. You want them to admit their sin and fix it. And you would do that by getting a Form 56 from the IRS and by drafting...
Form 56?
Yes, from the IRS, which is a fiduciary appointment. And then you would draft a letter making the judge the trustee over your name. Because you have to remember, when you're in court, it's like the Trinity. They're trying to be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay? They want it all. They want everything. They want to be everything. So in court, instead of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, it is the judge, the prosecutor, and you. In the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, it is God, Jesus, who was our trustee because he died for our sins, for our benefit, and we're the beneficiary. So that's the Trinity. In court, what they do is the prosecution tries to claim to be the judge, okay? Or they claim to be they claim to pretty much be God. You are then put in Jesus' position. Well, you have to die now to give the benefit to the court. So they flip the Trinity. They flip it on your head, okay? So when you find that the judge and the prosecution are working together and the judge is outside of their oath of office and all of these things, you want to let the judge know that you've now appointed them as the trustee over the name. So now that puts you back in the God position, okay? And that puts the prosecution in the trustee position. So now the trustee has to give up something to benefit the beneficiary. But with the judge out of the picture, you are also now the beneficiary. Did that make sense?
At what point, yeah. At what point do you file Form 56?
I actually do Form 56s right away. I do them as soon as, I know that there's being a court case initiated with me. I have a checklist that I go through. I get a certified copy of the original, whatever it is, whether it's a ticket or an indictment or whatever is going into court. I get a certified copy of that, okay? I will also call for the standing of the attorney who's coming against me. I want to check with the bar and make sure that this guy is in good standings, that he has a bond and everything is right. And I get that information certified and sent to me. I will also go and find the judge's oath and bond and make sure that I have a certified copy of them as well. Now, I do that because when you request anybody's oath and bond, they are going to be told exactly who has a certified copy of that oath and bond, because the oath is the judge's contract. And so if he is not living up to that contract, He's harming you, and you have to be able to recoup for your harm. Okay, so you would accept his oath of office to uphold your constitutionally protected rights. Once he gets notice that you have a certified copy, he's going to fly straight and throw the prosecutor under the bus.
How do you get a copy or the info of the bond from the judge and the prosecutor so you can file a claim on them?
Okay, what I found with the prosecutors, you're going to have to get in touch with the Bar Association and get the information from them. Now, for the judges, the best way that I found is to, if it's a municipal judge, you go to the city that they work for. Okay, you will go to the city's clerk, not the court clerk, not the city court clerk, but the actual city's clerk. Because if the judge is working for the city, he has to have an oath, a bond, and a contract with the city. And the city will have that information.
They don't want to give it to you, though.
Yes, but they have to if you put it in the form of a public records request. They don't want to give it to you, but they have to. And I'm also going to let you know now, anytime you get a judge's oath, there will be something missing. One of the requirements for that oath to be valid is going to be missing. Either it's not going to be given by someone who has been given the authority to administer oaths, or it won't be time and date stamped, or it won't be in the right location, or the judge won't sign it, or the judge's name's not on it, or they always have something that they will leave off that will make that oath of office invalid. Always. I've never seen a valid oath of office.
But isn't that proof then, verifiable proof of their
misconduct? Absolutely. So now, I have the judge's oath and bond. I have created a letter, a trustee letter for the judge, letting him know that he has just been appointed trustee over this matter, and that he is to balance the books, because he's now your accountant. He is to balance the books on this case and get rid of it. Now, he's also seeing that you have a Form 56 in his name, appointing him as trustee through the IRS. And if you did the process properly, which I teach in a class, if you do the process properly, what ends up happening is when you get that Form 56 and you fill it out, you take that Form 56 to your local IRS office and ask them to stamp it. They'll stamp a copy for you and a copy for them, the original, and they will send the judge the original. So the judge knows that the IRS knows that they are trustee over this name, and that it is their job to clear those books. When you start putting fire to the foot of a judge, they're going to get right and they're going to throw somebody else under that bus.
Okay, where do you get the judge's bond?
His oath and bond must be kept together. So if it's a municipal judge, you would go to the city, not to the court clerk, but to the city clerk. She holds the bond information for the city manager. She holds all of the minutes for every meeting that the city has, every move that the mayor want to make. Everything is in the city clerk record. And you can get that information. You ask them for a public access to the information request. They'll usually have it right there in the form of an application. They can drop that in your email and you fill it out and send it back with their little required payment or whatever. But whatever you get from them, make sure you get it certified. That's the key of getting it into the court.
Excuse me. I did get that form. Well, I did manage to get the municipal judge's oath, but I didn't get the bond. And then I went and got the form from the court clerk. And the form says, it's a FOIA request, but then on the form, they ask you if this is, if there's a case going on right now with you regarding, is this, do you have a case going right now, in other words? You want to know that.
And you would put
I don't know what
that
that
in
means. Okay, well, if you have a case going, then we're not going to give it to you?
Well, no, they can't not give it to you because it's public record. So, but you're looking in the wrong.
I want to know that.
Well, you're looking because you're going to the court, and you don't need. They're not going to give you the bond information from the court because that's not the court's position. Okay, the court's position is, we're going to hit them in the head and take their money and send them to jail. That's their only position. Now, the city, on the other hand, the city is the one whose bond covers all employees of that city. So you would go to the city. If the judge doesn't have a separate bond, then you use the city's bond. You get a certified copy of the city's bond.
So, deal with the police officers. Did they all have bonds too?
They're usually what happens in a city is the city will be required to keep a public hazard bond. And the public hazard bond bonds every single employee for that city. So it's the judges and everybody. The clerks, everybody who works for the city will be covered under, it's called a blanket bond. So if you get damaged, you have the information for who damaged you, the amount, the situation. You would turn that into the risk management for the city. Any more questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. I think maybe a simpler way to understand that is kind of like car insurance. They carry insurance that in case something happens,
correct,
someone has to file a claim against them. They're not held liable, but the city is held liable. But if they get too many claims against them, they can be fired or not able to practice anymore.
Exactly. And that's why anytime that I put a claim in on the city, I'm a secured party. So if they come against me anyway, it's $2 million per officer per instance. So I have a claim filed for $8 million for unlawfully arresting me, beating me up, and stealing my private property, which was my automobile. It's in with risk management. The problem is I also have a certified copy of their bond, and it is not valid. Therefore, I have the whole city in involuntary bankruptcy for $8 million. They don't let me into the city building at all because they know I'm coming for VIN numbers and serial numbers so I can sell it to recoup my money. So anytime I go into the city, they panic because they know I could take everything from them. So, we have an understanding now. There is also another city.
Hold.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand this. The city owes you $8 million in this wrongful suit that you filed against them, and they're panicking because they can't afford to pay you. So basically, when you enter that city, they don't mess with you at all.
Nope, they don't.
Is that right?
All they're trying to do at this time is conclude any business that they have with me on the books, and they don't touch me anymore. And there's actually another city that I deal with here in Maricopa, and they had already been given notice. I'm a secured party. This is my fee schedule. Here's my writ to travel, everything. And they still pulled me over. And what happened is the first time they pulled me over, it was another city that had me pulled. But that particular city had warrants for me. So when the first city pulled me over, they called the second city because the second city had warrants, so-called warrants for my arrest. So they came to the car, they got my documents, because that's all they get. They get a file folder with laminated documents in it, letting them see what is actually on the record and how much I'm charging them for having me on the side of the road right now. They took that information, they walked back to their car, and they shared the information with the other city who had the supposed warrants for me. They came back to the car. They said, well, ma'am, you don't have a license. The car is not registered. There's no insurance. We're gonna tow the car. Now, I'm not a dummy. I have less than 1 inch of window open for them in case I gotta close it up on their fingers if they try to break my glass. So I'm protected inside of my car. And I let them know, I don't know what you're talking about. Is it a requirement for me to have all those things if I'm exerting my right to travel freely in this country? Well, now they're confused. They got to walk back away from the car and talk to the other people. They come back and they say, well, ma'am, on top of all those other things, you have warrants for your arrest with such and such a city. I say, I don't know what you're talking about. There are no warrants for me. And they say, okay. And they walk away again, and they come back with my paperwork. They slide my paperwork back in the window, and they say, well, do you have somebody who's licensed that can come get your car for you? And I say, yep, they're on their way. And they say, okay, well, ma'am, we can't sit out here with you all night, so you just have somebody come get the car, and you have a nice night. And they go away. Okay? Now, I am trying to figure out what's going on with these warrants. So I go to that city, and I show up in court, and they are sick that I came up in there. And I'm asking, what is going, please present me with these warrants so I can, remedy this matter. They need to be paid for. So them not knowing what I'm going to do, they bring the warrants to me and sit them on the table. I snatch up the warrants and endorse them on the back with my EIN number without recourse and hand them back to the clerk. Well, the clerk now has to stamp those documents again because I've altered them. I've altered them on the private side of the document, and I signed that check properly myself. Therefore, the case is done. The warrant is gone. So I don't even have a judge get rid of my warrants. I get rid of, or I'll have somebody go in and get the warrants. Get me a certified copy of my warrants. Bring it out to me. I'll sit outside, sign the back, and tell them, okay, take them back in, put them in the record. And that warrant is gone. They're gone that quick.
And you're able to do this because you're a secured party?
Well, secured party, I'm going to say, gives teeth to everything that I do. Okay? Being a secured party does not allow the court to ignore what I'm putting into the court. Secured party doesn't allow people to move forward on me without my consent. Secured party allows me to charge them $2 million every time they touch me in every way that they touch me. So secured party allows me, instead of just having one set of teeth, I have sets of teeth like a shark. I have 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. When I bite you, something's coming off. Secure party has been a very valuable tool for me, but I had to learn how to use it. Because just simply filing the paperwork on its own doesn't really help you if you don't know how to use it. But it is a very valuable tool in my arsenal.
Can I ask you a question about those warrants again? Because that's a situation that we're in right now, where they have warrants out for us that we don't even know about. We found out about it, through trial and error by going online and looking. So they never even actually served us with the warrants. And so you were saying that go to the court clerk and get the certified copies, turn it over, and endorse it without recourse with your social, without dashes, and that should settle the bill? I mean, it is the bill.
It should at least kick out the warrants. So what I would suggest, because you want to have a notice or an affidavit going in with everything that you do. See, when they say they want you to appear in court, the only thing that can appear is a spirit, a dead entity, a ghost. Well, you're not dead, so you can't appear, but you can make a special appearance. A special appearance is the court. The court is your documents. So we have to get it out of our head that we have to go to court. We have to go to court. We don't have to go to court because court is not a building. Court is your paperwork. Court is the record. So if you were to do the warrant process, I would advise you guys, like, make an appointment to do a consultation with me. I'll help you guys get the letter drafted that needs to go in with the warrants. But if they're messing with you guys, like if you guys were just witnesses in the court and they locked y'all up for contempt, then that means they're scared of you guys. When they're scared of you guys, they're going to do whatever they have to get you to stop. So you need to think about your security. So what I would do is go online to that municipal, download the PDF application for a public records request, fill out what you're looking for. You need a certified copy of the warrants. Okay? You send that back to them along with the payment. Make sure that you get it certified, all of them. Okay? And have them send them to you in the mail or have someone else go pick them up. Don't go pick them up yourself. Don't do that because they're waiting for you to do something like that. So have someone else go get them or have them send them through the post. And then once you get them, do the process, add your affidavit, go to your notary, have your notary presented onto the court, to the county, and to the recorder. Now you have it in 3 places that this warrant is dead in the water. You see my signature back there? It's over with. And it will kick itself out that system. I've done it at least 3 times, and I've helped other people do it at least 5. And it's never failed.
So, Camison, who is, the one who's constantly being harassed and pulled into court, he has a hearing coming up this Monday, and he has an order to come in for ID processing. So they're wanting to contract. So with the order, I heard that you turn it over, like you said, and then, autograph it without recourse and do the Social Security thing to pay off that money order. Well, is that something that you suggest? Because it's coming up on Monday. So what should he do?
I would need to get you guys on to the video conference where we can screen share. So you can send me his information. We can do research right then and there on finding out where the oaths are, finding out where the bonds are, finding out what the amount of his charges are. And he, depending on how how well-versed he is, he could present the court with a promise. Go to the court. There's no, not saying that he's going to say, I plead guilty. He's still not going to want to enter a plea, but he would just come into the court saying, there's no argument here. He's like, if you guys say that's what I did, then okay, I guess that's what it is. Please present me with the amount of the charges so we can settle this matter right now. And have a promissory note there in front of you. Create a promissory note, leave the amounts and everything blank, and have that sitting on the table with you. And if the judge presents you with the amount of all the charges to get rid of this matter right now, you simply write it down on that promissory note and give it to the clerk. You just paid for it. It should, in theory, go away.
An A for V? Is it like an A for V?
It's kind of. It's just a promissory note. A promissory note is a promise to pay at a later date. If they are saying they want cash from you, what is cash? A promissory note. It's a promise to pay when gold and silver actually come back to this country.
Right.
And if that doesn't work to shut down his case, I need to let you know right now, a rich man has options. And a wealthy man is wealthy because he knows how to fill out the paperwork. That's it. If you have those 2 things understood, you maneuver so differently in the system. Because Okay, you go to them, you offer to settle, you're offering to settle, there's no argument, okay, whatever, however much you say I owe, you're not saying I'm guilty, you're just saying, just tell me how much I owe. Once they give you that amount, put it on a promissory note. Hand it back in. Watch the judge freak out. Okay? Because the judge is going to be like, holy crap, what are you doing? Like, you're coming a different way. Like, wait, I can't take this promissory note because all a Federal Reserve note is a promissory note.
Right.
So he's going to be stuck there. So what's he going to do? He's either going to accept it and get rid of the case, or he's going to throw the prosecutor under the bus. You see? So if by chance it doesn't do anything else, it will buy you more time to find a better option. Now, do they have him locked up, or is he out?
He's out on, I'm not sure if he has bail currently, but yeah, his family kept paying bail for him to be released because he has like 4 or 5 hearings just this month alone. And, so every time they bring him in, they'll do something else with him or arrest him, and then they'll have to bail him out. The last hearing, they did dismiss it without prejudice, but with the order that he needs to go in for ID processing within 10 days. He's not going to do that because it's in the contract, and we've all refused to contract, and we didn't do the ID processing, so that's why they have the warrants out for us.
Oh, it was because of that.
After 30 days in jail. Right, after the 30 days in jail, which we were, kept there for 30 days. And then, during this time, while we were in there, on the second week, they took us in for ID processing, and we didn't consent. We didn't, do fingerprinting or anything. We didn't answer any questions. And so while we were still in jail, they put out warrants for us for, not coming in for ID processing, in which they forced us to go. But,
that's absurd. That's absurd.
Yeah,
so
it is.
And you said this is in Montana?
Huh?
Where were you guys located?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Well, one question that I have are these military courts? Are all the courts military?
Absolutely.
Because they're under martial law?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.